All right, we'll try that. Hey, everybody. So, I wanted to give you an update on our little buddy Chimera here. He's been a good boy. So, we went to the vet yesterday, and she says that she feels like we're getting some benefit from the antibiotics. So, we are in for 8 more weeks of antibiotics. We're going to only have to do the oral one now, so that's better than the injectable. Do you see this one? This is pink. This is your good one. Smell this. Yeah, this is the one you like, so thank you. I appreciate that. Good boy. So, I told her he was definitely gaping less, but that I was concerned because he was still doing some gaping, so I didn't know for sure if the nodules in his lungs and under his rib cage pushing on the lungs were actually shrinking or not. And she thinks they are. So she wants to go ahead and give him the antibiotics for a total of 8 more weeks. So that'll put us into the new year sometime around early February. And then take another x-ray and see how he's doing, and if we're getting somewhere, then his outlook is much better than what we thought initially. Now, that's not to say that he might not come off of the antibiotics and then just totally tank because he's not getting any supportive care or any way to help him, thank you, sort of offset some of the terribleness that has been happening to him, and might have dire consequences. But we're going to try it. I mean, he's doing well with it. He's tolerating it well. You can see he likes the flavor of the oral one. He prefers not to have an injection, so that's good too. And this is treatment that's not difficult to do every day. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some parts of it are difficult to do every day. But it can be done, certainly. It's not so, life-altering that, oh my God, we just can't do it. We can do it. So, the downside is it does upset his tummy, so we're going to be on syringe feeding every day for the next 8 weeks. But that's also working. He weighed 1.1 pounds when he went in 4 weeks ago, or 544 grams, and he now weighs exactly the same thing as he did then. So, which she was delighted about, that he's making good strides. She's happy if he just stays the way he is. And so she's happy with the level of care he's getting. Thank you very much. So we're going to keep at it and assess. And then we need to decide at the end of that time, well, should we go ahead and keep doing this? At some point, does that become unfair to him? Do we go ahead and do it and just know, yeah, that's the food. And just know that if in order for him to continue to stay alive and be okay, that's what's going to take? Or do we decide, well, let's come off of it and just see if he gets his own appetite back, knowing that, it may or may not be a good thing for him to go off of it. But I don't think it's something that we can do, forever. Maybe we can, but I would think at some point it's going to mess up the rest of his physiology. But, to be fair, the rest of his physiology is kind of already messed up. His mouth had healed completely on that side. It's still not too bad. It's better. However, can you open your little clam mouth, please? Come on. Thank you. However, it does keep coming back. The corners of his mouth continue to, they get well, they look great, and then they split and bleed, and then they get the little scab that comes on, and then the scab comes off, and then it looks good for a while, and then it bleeds again, and it's just this ongoing thing. And so when I asked her about it, she examined him, and said that she really thinks it's his immune system issue, that because it's so compromised, the same reason he can't kick these nodules he's getting is the same reason that his mouth, heals up but doesn't stay healed up. That his immune system is just not sending the right signals like they normally would if he was perfectly fine and it wasn't compromised. But, again, we can't change that now. That's 4 years of starving. But like I told her, she was delighted with his x-rays. She said his calcium level is beautiful. He looks great. He doesn't have any weak areas or any, Swiss cheese looking areas of his x-ray. It's all beautiful, nice, healthy bone. So, I think she kind of feels a little bit like we do, like, this is the guy who fought so hard, and to just give up without a fight just seems like a terrible thing to do. So we're going to keep fighting and see what happens. Couple issues that I have is that this poor baby is finally starting to feel like he wants to brumate. Well, I can't let him, because we're going to be daily dosing his medicine and his food. So that means he doesn't get the option. Now, that's not to say he can't rest. I usually when we turn on his, thank you, good boy, Chimera. When we turn on his light in the morning, he takes a little while. He takes probably, 35, 40 minutes in the morning to get up. I know, you see Finn over there and you really want to give him the what for, no matter how you're feeling, don't you? To really get up and get moving. He likes to stay under his blanket even when we turn off the heat emitter and we turn on his basking light. It takes him a while to get up. He would rather just hang out and, But then he does get up and he gets under his basking spot and stays there most of the day. Bobs a little bit at Merlin, although Merlin went into brumation yesterday, so no Merlin bobbing for the moment, which is actually good because I think he could use the rest from all that, so that's good. He sees Ruby, but he hasn't really been interacting with her, and she's not really interacting with him, so that's all good. And I let him stay in his basking spot. We give him his greens in the morning, and he did sort of randomly just eat a couple, just arbitrarily a couple of days ago, so it was exciting and baffling because now he's back to not eating. But we give him every day. If he even eats one piece, I'm okay with it. And then we give him his bath, let him soak in some warm water so that he gets and stays hydrated. Then he gets up. I let him stay under his basking spot for, 3 or 4 more hours before we come in here to do this. And that's for a couple reasons. One, I want him to be as hungry as possible because I don't want him to give me grief about the food, which he will because, when your stomach's upset, you don't really want to eat, but he needs to eat. He needs to have something to run on because he's not eating any food. So then we do this, and now he'll get another 2 or 3 hours of basking and sitting under his UVB until it's time for bed. And then we will turn on his heat emitter, turn off his lights, cover him with his blanket, and he'll be good for until tomorrow. Now, if he wants to sleep under his basking spot all day, except for bath and food, I'm fine with that, because I know that this is the season where that's a normal thing for him to do. He's never basked before, but this is the biggest and healthiest he's been in his lifetime. So it's not unusual that he realizes that, hey, it's getting colder, it's getting darker earlier. I'd like to go under my hide and just call it a season. But, since we can't do that. So keeping him up, what I'm doing is I'm keeping his light schedule so that he doesn't have an opportunity to just go under and stay under. So he's still getting his lights turned on every day, and turned off at night, so that we try to convince him to stay awake. The temperatures are staying nice and warm. so that he doesn't think, oh, it's a seasonal thing. So, yeah, so we do that. Hi, good boy. And so we're going to just keep carrying on. I told her I really couldn't tell her if she were to ask me, did I think the nodules were shrinking? I said, I really couldn't tell you because, yes, he's gaping less. You can see that he's not gaping all the time like he was originally, but he's still gaping. So, and she said that she really felt they were shrinking. So I think probably at the end of this next 8-week course, she'll probably take the x-ray and find out definitively either they are or they're not. And then we'll have to make a decision either to continue the treatment, have it be ongoing, terminate the treatment, and see what happens, and then let him make the decision. So, you know, I think it's sometimes hard to determine what suffering can look like in a reptile. Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes it's not as obvious. You know, he doesn't have to hunt, and he doesn't have to fight, and he doesn't have to forage. He just gets to sit in his tank and have his heat and his lights and his food, you know, at his beck and call all day, every day. So if he doesn't breathe perfectly, it's not, you know, it's not a tragedy like it would be in the wild where he would be at risk of predation, among other things, and starvation if he couldn't physically do what he needed to do to survive, right? There will be no breeding because I'm not running a dragon nursery. So that's not going to be happening. So he doesn't really have anything that's going to be really physically taxing or a really difficult physical draw on him. So if he's not breathing terrific all the time, that's okay. What's not okay is he miserable? Is he not able to eat? Is he not able to sleep? Is he not able to be a dragon at all? Is he in pain? Is he rasping so hard that he's not having any quality of life at all? Okay, those are the questions that have to be asked to make the determination of whether we let him continue to have his, what we're going to call his new normal, or if it's too much for him. So right now, I think as you can see, he seems pretty happy. He ate all of his food. He didn't give me any grief really about it. He had his medicine like a champ. He's giving Finnian side eye, and he's giving it back. So, you know, pretty normal stuff really for him. So we know, we both agreed that he's really not a surgical candidate. I mean, the cost aside, which would be substantial, like $2,500 to $3,000. All of that aside, he would not be appropriate for anesthesia, because the one thing you don't want to do with a reptile that's having trouble breathing is anesthetize them. So, especially with a compromised immune system, because he might not be able to metabolize the anesthesia, and that would be that. You know, he wouldn't wake up. So that's not an option no matter how you look at it. So, you know, it's going to be kind of one of those things where we have to, okay, I'm sorry, that tickled. I didn't mean to tickle you. Where we have to kind of just decide, okay, this is what it's going to mean to manage this, and this is the best he's ever going to be. Is that good enough? I mean, it's good enough for me. If he's okay with it, I'm okay with it, as long as he doesn't appear to be suffering. If he wants to just hang out and be adorable in his tank and get lots of kisses, yeah, and be a happy boy, I'm okay with that. That's good enough for me. As long as he isn't struggling or, you know, unable to do what a dragon does. And I think he'll let us know whether or not that's the case if we stop the treatment, or even if we continue the treatment. So, yeah, other than that, she was extremely happy with how he's doing. The fact that his weight is stable. The fact that he's doing really good. The fact that he's feistier than he's been. Oh, you're going to wave at Finn? Okay, wave at him. That's a good idea. Maybe he'll stop looking at you with side eye, huh? If he's willing to do that, super. So, yeah, we're going to keep going with him at least for 8 weeks. And then we will sort of decide Okay, how's it going? What does it look like? Can we continue on with it? Can he continue on with it? Does it look like we need to continue? Is he going to be in a stable spot where he can go back to just being himself, whatever that means? That's what we're going to do. So, yeah. But we really want to thank you guys for all your good wishes and all your good prayers. He's still here, so they mattered, right? Yeah. So, keep them coming. We'll take all we can get. I also took Finnian in for a second opinion, so that was interesting. I'll probably do a separate video on that. I'm waiting to hear back from her. She sent the x-rays. She took a whole fleet of x-rays. It was kind of funny because she said, I don't really want to have to anesthetize him. Do you think he'll I said, he'll be great. Just tell him to hold still and he'll be fine. Well, then she was gone a really long time. Well, come to find out, she said, she walked in the door, she said, he's a perfect patient. And I said, oh, I'm glad he was good. Oh, he was perfect. She said, I took a whole bunch of x-rays because he was being so good, I just kept going, which is fine. I said, oh, I wondered what took you so long. And then she said, okay, well, actually, we stopped to play with him because he looked so cute in his little Christmas sweater, which, okay, he did have his Christmas sweater on because it was cold yesterday. Anyway, they wanted to give him some loves, which is fine. She originally thought when she examined Finn, she thought that his back legs are not communicating with his brain. I said, okay, what does that mean? And she said, well, that could be anything from a slipped disc to a spinal cord tumor to, an injury. She asked me if he'd had any accidents or injuries to his back. I said, no, none. And I told her, when it came on, when he started flipping himself over, all of those kind of things, how the progression looked. And so she was expecting to find something in the x-rays and she didn't. So she said, let me send these to a radiologist. I do want to ask about some of the bony protrusions in his spine just to make sure that they're not potentially causing the problem. And she said, and then let me think about it. I want to talk to some of my, hey, reptile mouth. I want to talk to some of my colleagues that deal, with reptiles. So, see if any of them have seen it. She talked to them beforehand and told them what she knew because he's kind of an enigma. They had no idea. I mean, the reality of it is there just hasn't been a lot of study, scientific or otherwise, on bearded dragons. So they just don't know as much as we'd like them to know. That's really the bottom line. But she's going to do whatever she can. And if she thinks there's a treatment, great. And if there's no treatment, I mean, that's okay. I've already modified his tank so that he does not have a double layer tank. He's a single layer. I've changed out his basking spot 3 times and I'm about to do it a 4th time because he's struggling with it. And I've already modified his feeding dish and how it looks, and I feed him individual feeders if he struggles with the dish. So, it's just something you got to do. So we do it. So I'm okay with that. I'm willing to do that for him too. So she's still not sure, but she is looking. I said, I want to know, my issue is he went from flipping himself over in 2019 and then 2021, he started not really using his back legs. I want to know, is he going to lose his front legs too? Because at that point, what do we do? And that worried me. And she said that she did not think that he was going to lose any kind of feeling or anything in his front legs, that he wasn't in danger of that. So that's good. So we're still ironing out a few things. But, he's doing really well. She was delighted with his x-rays too. Oh my God, his bone. She's like, do you care if I use these x-rays? Because I'd like to use them for training purposes so that when other people come in and, their animals have bones you can see through because they weren't giving them UVB and calcium, I'd like to show them what they're supposed to look like. I'm like, help yourself. You're welcome to take whatever you need to take. So other than the issues that they're having, they're otherwise, both of them, are really healthy. I mean, except for these nodules with this guy and Finn and his flipping himself over thing. But they're both doing well. I mean, they're eating, they're playing, they're bobbing at each other. They're, flirting with Ruby. They're doing dragon stuff. So, onward and upward. So we will see what happens next. So he's not going to be brumating even if he wants to, but he might be taking long daily naps, which is okay. And we're going to keep the regimen going. And so, yeah, we just wanted to let you guys know how things were going. But, you can see he's just, he's a good boy. He's pretty mellow. He opens his mouth a little more often than needed probably because, want to keep that airflow going. Fighting that doggone nodule. Other than that, he's his usual self. When he runs around, he stops and he gets a little more winded and he has to rest for a minute and then he continues on. Finn does that too because dragging his back legs is tiring. So he goes 2 or 3 feet and he has to stop for a minute and rest. He goes on. He's developing some real biceps too from dragging his back self. But he's got feeling in his back legs and he can use them. He's just doesn't seem to know he needs to, or they're not. Anyway, she was worried. She asked me if I noticed any problem, with sores or calluses or lesions or anything forming on his underside. And I said, actually, no, I check him every day to make sure, because I was worried his vent was going to be stuck open, which would let, dirt and bacteria and everything in there. So I've been monitoring that, but I said, so far he's been totally fine. So she's like, okay, well, I can't even give you a suggestion right now. I mean, you're doing everything that can be done. I wish all of the people I know that with reptiles, were as conscientious. And I said, well, thank you. But my feeling is, because I take in rescues, okay, that means they've already been hurt, injured, neglected, malnourished by someone else. Okay. That means if I'm going to take them in, then it's my job to be over vigilant. That's the reality. Or why am I taking them in? Right? So, and that's what I told her, is that, it's my responsibility then to try to right the wrongs that were done to them by some other human who either chose ignorance and didn't bother to find out what it is they needed. Not that there aren't plenty of sources online that you can literally one click away. Plenty of books, plenty of tapes, plenty of videos, plenty of lectures, but people don't pay attention. So either because they've chosen ignorance, or their circumstances changed and they didn't realize the effect it was going to have on the dragon, or the really mean people who just didn't care and, watched them get to this point and then realized, I'm just done with this animal. And then they get rid of it. Okay, well, if I'm going to clean up somebody else's problems and try to help these animals survive because somebody let them down and betrayed their trust, then I'm going to do everything that I can, or I'm not going to take them in. I mean, it's that simple. I don't usually take the ones in that just need groceries. Some of them are that way. They just aren't getting enough food. Okay. That was like Saturn. He was one that he really didn't have many needs, except he just needed his diet adjusted. And he needed a home where he could have his own person, which he now has, and he's very happy. And he was easy. I just had to make sure he had plenty of groceries. Lots of bugs and lots of worms and lots of greens, and life went on for him. Okay. But these guys, the ones where that might not be enough, the ones that are so bad that really whether or not they make it is entirely up to them, because I can start them off, give them everything that they were supposed to have had, and sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes they don't believe it. I mean, there's a lot of mental work that has to go through these guys, because I'm asking them to trust another human being to now do the right thing after they've experienced the wrong thing, sometimes for years. So, you know, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. It took Chimera 5 or 6 days before he really decided, okay, one more time. It took him that long to trust me, and that was not his fault. I did not blame him for that. It took Ruby much longer. It took her months. She knew that any minute I was going to stop feeding her. She just knew it. That was going to be it. And it's one of the reasons why she binge eats. She still does. I have to count how many feeders I give her because she won't stop. And so I have to monitor that. So, you know, there's work involved. But these creatures deserve a life. And if I had my way, there would be absolutely mandatory information shared with people interested in these animals in the pet store when they're a hatchling, and oh, how cute, it's a little lizard. And then all of a sudden it's a great big reptile that has requirements that are going to cost time and money. And, you know, and now it's like they need to be rescued, right? So, and it never ends, you guys. There was one yesterday on the Rescue Me site. If you haven't gone to rescueme.org, I encourage you to do it. Even if you're not rescuing, I think you should see what's out there. There's a person in Los Angeles County, which is the county next door to us, who has a dragon that she needs to rehome. And she's, yeah, he's about a year old. That dragon's not 100 grams. He looks like a juvenile. He's even got juvenile skin. He didn't even shed in a year. She loves him. That wasn't the problem. Problem is she has no idea that he's not thriving at all. He's failing to thrive in her eye line. She doesn't know. Never bothered to learn. And that poor little thing, I don't know what kind of MBD he might have. I don't know. But, you know, right now I have 4 and I'm full. I can't take one that might have that many needs. In addition to the ones I have now with the needs that they have. So I emailed her and I said, you know, I rescued dragons, and where I don't have the ability right now to take another one, I would encourage you, please give this dragon to somebody with experience in caring for bearded dragons, because your little guy has got some serious issues. He's way undersized. He's way underweight. And that's the tip of the iceberg. So I hope she listens. But, you know, that's where we are. And that's why I don't want another dragon to have a tragedy story. This situation with Chimera was 100% preventable. The issue with Finn might not have been. This one was. The issue with Ruby, 100% preventable. And here they are. So, anyway, guys, thanks again for hanging with us and keeping Chimera in your thoughts. We both appreciate it very, very much. Yes, we do. He's such a handsome boy. And I hope everybody had a really nice Thanksgiving. And I hope you're looking for wonderful things from Santa, because all of you deserve it. So I hope you have a really wonderful Christmas. Yeah. And we'll keep you posted. We'll get some more videos out there and get them going. And, you know, keep Mr. Man here. I got some hornworms, so cross your fingers, he might eat one. We'll see. All right, Chimera, say goodbye to everybody. Bye, everybody. Thank you for your good wishes. Just pretend that gape is a smile. It's fine. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.